Mr. Mayor, how are you?
Good to see you.
Thank you for coming here. It's nice to meet you finally.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Getting back to the MTA, you support the millionaire's tax, which I understand. There are some of us in the Senate who do not.
Yes.
Because quite frankly, we're worried about what appears to be a declining economy, the impact of the president's SALT deductions, really, which is a property tax increase, as you know, for states like New York. We're very concerned that that additional tax could lead to more people leaving the state and a loss of revenue to the entire state. So on the assumption we don't pass a millionaire's tax, I'm sure you might support congestion pricing. Is that fair to say?
Senator, I've said that I have not yet seen a plan I could support, but I remain open to new versions. I've raised some of the concerns that I have: need for a lockbox, need for specific help in the outer boroughs and transit deserts, a need for hardship exemptions. Very open to the discussion. But just one quick response before hearing the rest of your question. I do want to note our analysis so far by our budget office is that the tax plan that the President and the Congress voted on, I agree with you, did a huge disservice to this state and others by eliminating SALT. I believe there will be a strong effort in a few years to get that exemption back, which we deserve. That plan can be repealed and we should get the SALT exemption back. But I also would note we believe a number of millionaires and billionaires actually net gained in that legislation in New York because of the lower tax rates that they also experienced. And I remind you, the plan we put forward, I understand there's real concern about it, but it was only to tax millionaires and billionaires in the 5 boroughs, not beyond.
I understand that, but I believe that it would also impact the rest of the state in revenue. Well, I actually agree with you on the concept that I have not seen a congestion pricing plan that I can support. And one of the concerns I have as a senator representing part of the North Shore of Long Island is that I want to make sure that if this fee goes into effect, when my constituents go back and forth to the city, whether it's for work, whether it's to go to Broadway, whether it's to go visit people, that they're getting some, their money back for paying this additional fee. And that's why I'm concerned about your saying that this money has to go into a lockbox for subways and buses, which I presume you're just talking about New York City buses. What about the Long Island Railroad? Many of my constituents are now driving into Manhattan because of the very poor declining service of the Long Island Railroad. And also some of our local communities, towns and villages, are spending a fortune in rebuilding parking facilities. And some of that has to do with the fact that for years, electrification doesn't go further east. And so communities like mine are inundated with more structures and cars. So I guess my question for you is that if you end up supporting congestion pricing, would you support the concept of it being used on a regional basis, including supporting such things as upgrading the Long Island Railroad and buses for Long Island, where we really have no north-south buses. And if you don't have a car, you sometimes just can't get to work.
Senator, I want to say, in a spirit of real unity, I think all over the state, folks are struggling to get the transit they need. And I think it's only fair that we all regard each other's problems respectfully and say we want solutions for everyone. What's good for Long Island is good for New York City. What's good for New York City is good for Long Island. If your communities are working better, it helps us, and vice versa. So, of course, the legislature is going to look at this issue. It's a complex issue, and we're ready to engage any conversation that helps us get there. When I say lockbox, I'm only emphasizing the point that one of the central reasons, of course, to have a congestion pricing plan would be to try and help our subways and buses recover. They're obviously in a really tough situation. And I think it's fair to say, Senator, that a lot of your constituents also, if they come into work, for example, a lot of them will take a subway or bus too, or even if they're coming in for other reasons. So I think it's fair to say that our transit system benefits people in the entire metropolitan area. But there's lots of ways to do this. We have to make sure in the end that we all come to a feeling, whatever combination of revenue streams, that's actually enough to put the MTA on a reasonable footing going forward, and that we can have reliable subway and bus service in New York City, in addition to whatever else might be looked at. Because if we don't have reliable subway and bus service in New York City, the entire metropolitan area will suffer.
Well, right now we have a very unreliable Long Island Railroad as well, and I am really concerned about this proposal because I have not seen the regional aspect to it, and I hope you would support that congestion pricing money being used to solve our regional problem.
Certainly want to work with you, Senator.
And just quickly, Mr. Mayor, one final question to follow up on Senator Seward in terms of hardships for congestion pricing. I have a lot of constituents who own small businesses. They drive small vans. They go into Manhattan all the time. Would that be something that you could support an exemption for?
Again, as you and I both start this discussion, at this point we haven't seen a plan we could support, but I remain open to the discussion. I think when it comes to hardship, I gave the example that I see the most and I hear the most of folks from other parts of the 5 boroughs who need medical care. I think Senator Seward's example is a good one. I think your example is a good one so long as we have some ground rules that are fair. We say, what defines small business, for example? We want to be sensitive to a real mom and pop operation. Other businesses might have more resources. But I'd be very open to any discussion that we all end up feeling is fair. When I talk about the outer borough dynamics, for example, when Mayor Bloomberg presented his congestion plan, there were no guarantees for the communities I represented in Brooklyn. And we all knew that Brooklyn and Queens would be the first 2 places to feel the impact. Obviously, Long Island would as well. So I wanted to make sure that people knew there was fairness in the plan. I can hear that in your question as well. I'm open to whatever gets us there, and I think it's a productive dialogue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Madam Chair.